Mom's incredible act at the gym revealed a touching transformation that changed our lives forever. Every morning, Claire made her way to the gym, a sanctuary where sweat flowed and spirit soared, if only for a fleeting moment. The clang of weights echoed around her, a rhythm that masked the chaos waiting at home. Juggling two jobs as a waitress and a cleaning lady to provide for her kids, Jake and Lily, was no easy feat. Life felt like a constant race against time. Mornings were wild, breakfast chaos filled with spilled cereal, hurried goodbyes, and the familiar scent of burnt toast. But at the gym, she could breathe. One fateful morning, amid the hum of treadmills and the clattering of dumbbells, Claire's gaze fell upon Tom. A disabled veteran, he stood alone, struggling to lift weights that others would toss around. Laughter erupted from a group across the gym, mocking Tom's efforts. Each laugh felt like a stab in Claire's heart. She couldn't just stand by. "Hey," she shouted, her voice slicing through their laughter. Anger fluttered in her chest like a caged bird. "That's not cool." As the laughter silenced, Tom turned, his face painted with humiliation. But in that moment of vulnerability, Claire stepped closer. "I think what you're doing is amazing," she said, her voice softening. Tom smiled, albeit timidly, and they fell into conversation. He recounted tales of service and sacrifice, revealing a soul brimming with resilience. Claire felt an unexpected connection, a bond bound by shared struggles. Days passed, and Claire's compassion grew into something transformative. Inspired by Tom's courage, she began to dream of bigger things, a community fitness event to raise funds for veterans like him. But her ambitions faced skepticism. "Just a waitress, huh?" people whispered. Even Jake and Lily, who struggled with their own doubts at school, questioned her dreams. "What if you fail, Mom?" Lily asked, her little brow furrowed. Just when the moment felt right to present her vision at the upcoming community event, life took an unexpected turn. Devastation struck, hitting Claire's family like a freight train. A misfortune forced them into a chasm of confusion and anger. As Jake threw his backpack against the wall and Lily cried herself to sleep, Claire felt the weight of her aspirations crumbling. Could she still fight for what she believed in when her own children were grappling with confusion? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Claire stood on the edge of heartbreak, her heart ached not only from the judgment of her community, but also the fear emanating from her children. The thought of speaking out against the economic disparities that enveloped their world became intertwined with the worries of her family's stability. And in that blend of certainty and fragility, Claire realized that transformation required two things: the bravery to act and the humility to listen and heal. The unforeseen challenges lay ahead, threatening to pull her family apart at the seams. But Claire clung to hope, emboldened by the friendship she had forged with Tom. Together, they stood at the brink of redefining not just their futures, but the entire community. How could they navigate this tumultuous path? Would they find strength amidst the wreckage of their lives? Only time would tell, but one thing was certain: this was only the beginning. Claire woke up the next day with a dread settling in her chest like a heavy weight. The morning routine had a different flavor today. It tasted bitter. Jake slumped over the kitchen table, his eyes glazed with exhaustion, while Lily toyed with her cereal, her usual giggles replaced by a worried silence. Claire caught sight of their red-rimmed eyes and the stories they were too scared to share. "Hey, kiddo, everything okay?" she asked, forcing a smile that felt more like a mask than a comfort. "I hate school," Jake mumbled, pushing his plate away. "Everyone keeps making fun of me for not having the newest shoes. It's stupid." Claire's heart clenched. She remembered feeling the same way when she was young, but she wanted more for her kids than she had ever experienced. Those shoes don't define who you are, Jake. You're kind, smart, and brave. She reached across the table to squeeze his hand. But I understand how hard it can be. We'll get through this together. Lily chimed in. What if they make fun of you too, Mom? What if they think your ideas are dumb? Claire took a deep breath. The community fitness event felt like a distant dream, especially now, when the confidence of her children hung in the balance. Yet something inside her flickered, an ember of determination. But what if I show them how strong we can be? Claire replied, her voice steadier than she felt. She ached to instill courage in her kids, to show them that strength was born from vulnerability. With the weight of their worries still heavy in the air, Claire decided to talk to Tom. She needed a confidant, someone who understood what it felt like to stand up against adversity. When she arrived at the gym later that day, her heart raced as she spotted him in a corner, lifting weights. The sight reminded her of the first moment they'd connected, hope mingling with compassion. "Tom," she called, the earnestness in her voice cutting through the chatter. He looked up, a warm smile breaking across his face. "Claire, how are you?" "I'm trying to be better," she admitted, glancing around for eavesdroppers. "But I need your help. Things at home, well, they're hard, you know. Jake is struggling, and I just feel like everything is crumbling." Tom nodded, sensing the gravity beneath her words. "You're stronger than you realize. The world needs your voice, Claire." Taking a deep breath, she shared her idea for the event, the challenges she faced, and the fear of ridicule. As the words spilled out, she felt lighter, her heart warming in their exchange. Tom listened intently, his eyes glimmering with an understanding born from his own trials. "Let's do it," he said finally. "We can plan together. You've got the passion. I know we can mobilize support." Claire felt a spark of hope bloom inside her. If Tom believed in her, maybe she could believe in herself too. "Really? You'd help me?" "Absolutely. We're in this together," he declared, determination etched in his features. They brainstormed ideas and rallied together the community's veterans, gathering their stories and resources. Claire's initial fear of being mocked started to fade away, replaced by a sense of purpose. But she still worried about her kids. Would they see her as a role model or a dreamer chasing rainbows? That evening, as she tucked Jake and Lily into bed, she promised them that even when life felt steep, they could climb together. "Mom, what if it doesn't work?" Jake whispered, looking into her eyes with a mixture of hope and doubt. "What if it does?" Claire replied softly, tucking him in tightly. But deep down, she wondered. The community was counting on them, but could they all rise together? The next few days brought small victories. The kids began to smile a little more, and the initial spark of excitement for the event was igniting. But just as things began to feel right, a new challenge emerged from the shadows that threatened to disrupt everything. Would they be able to face this together, or would fear once again tighten its grip? Time would tell, but as the sun set that night, Claire stood at the brink, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. The following week unfolded like a whirlwind. Each day seemed to bring a new layer to the community fitness event, but uncertainty still lingered in Claire's heart. She called meetings, organized training sessions, and still managed to balance family life. But one choir note remained off. Jake and Lily were still anxious. Every time the discussion turned towards the event, Jake's mood would drop again. He was trying so hard to fit in at school, and this event felt less like a beacon of hope and more like an added pressure. "Mom, what if I have to stand in front of everyone? What if I mess up?" he asked one evening, his fingers tracing circles in the carpet. "I promise you'll be amazing. Just imagine they're all there cheering you on," Claire said, her heart aching for the little boy who felt so small. But she had concerns of her own. Tom's enthusiasm was infectious, but the voices of doubt were still fighting to be heard in her mind. What if she did fail? Her thoughts raced as she glanced at the calendar. Only a few days left until the event. On Saturday, the gym was buzzing with energy. Claire arrived early, feeling both exhilaration and dread. The bright lights above dazzled her eyes, while laughter echoed in the corners. She spotted Tom across the room, directing volunteers with unwavering confidence. He caught her gaze and flashed a smile that ignited her spirit. "Okay, we're ready for the opening speech, Claire. Just remember, it's about your story and showing everyone that together we can overcome anything," he encouraged. The confidence in his voice bolstered Claire, nudging her closer to the stage. As she stood up there, her heart thumped in her chest. With each breath, she envisioned Jake and Lily. The fear in their eyes had been haunting her, and she wanted to show them not only strength, but vulnerability. "And it's a little personal for me," she began, her voice shaking slightly. As she shared her own experiences of feeling excluded, the hall fell silent. Faces turned towards her, and for a moment she lost herself in the story. "I've stood in shoes like many of you. I've felt the fear, the doubt, but here we are. Are we going to let those feelings hold us back? No, we're better than that," she spoke, her confidence building with each statement. Cheers erupted, and as the applause washed over her, Claire realized it wasn't just her bravery shining through. It was a collective awakening among her community. In the crowd, Jake's eyes sparkled. He looked up at Lily, who beamed back at him, as if they'd both discovered a little ember of courage igniting in their hearts. After her speech, Claire rushed to them, enveloping them both in a hug that felt like home. "See, you can do anything," she whispered, pulling back to see their faces alight with pride. Just as the thrill of hope began to settle over the family, a shout erupted from the back of the gym. Claire turned to see a group of kids clustering around Jake, laughter filling the air. They were pointing at something on their phones, and the laughter turned into mocking. "Look, your mom's making a fool of herself," one of them yelled, and Claire's stomach dropped. Jake's face flushed crimson. Before she could react, Jake spun away, anxiety clouding his features. He looked at her, those eyes searching for everything she promised, knowing the challenge ahead was not just about a community fitness event anymore. "Mom," he whispered, as fear crept back, threatening to take root. Claire's heart raced. Was this the tipping point she'd feared? Before she could answer, an unexpected voice rose above the rest. It was Lily, stepping up to her brother, fierce and unwavering. "Leave him alone. He's brave enough just being here." Claire watched, her breath hitching. It was in that moment she felt the tides shift. The community's strength was no longer just her fight. It was a shared journey. Every challenge transforms into a lesson. But can they handle this one together? She wondered as the gym buzzed in anticipation. The reality of what lay ahead was daunting, but Claire knew deep down that they were all in this together. As the event continued, she could see the shadows growing. Would they stand firm as a family, or would the relentless pressure tear them apart? The answer lingered in the air, heavy yet hopeful. Claire stood frozen for a heartbeat, adrenaline racing through her veins, as she processed Lily's brave outburst. The noise of the gym faded into the background, replaced by the thumping of her own heart. The moment felt pivotal, as if everything could shift with Lily's words. Jake took a shaky breath, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. The corner of his mouth turned up a fraction, encouraged by his sister's unexpected defense. Claire felt a swell of pride, her daughter embodying the fierce love of a protector. "You're not alone, Jake," Lily said softly, her voice a gentle balm against the harsh words that had been flung his way. The kids around them hesitated, taken aback by this sudden twist. "Yeah, back off," Jake added, his voice gaining strength. For the first time, there was fire in his words, and Claire's heart swelled further. Perhaps they could face this together. The laughter from the other kids dissipated as they exchanged glances, confused. Claire saw a chance. This was not just about her anymore. She stepped toward her children, a beacon of support. "Lily's right. Jake's here, and he's braver than any of you," she called out, her voice firm but warm. The eyes of the children shifted, the tide turning as realization dawned. They weren't laughing anymore. They were listening. The silence grew heavy, but it was a different kind of silence, one filled with potential understanding. "Let's show everyone what courage looks like," Claire continued, gathering momentum. "Let's show them that we support each other, no matter what. This is not about perfection. It's about being real." Jake looked up at her, his expression transforming from uncertainty to hope. Could they really turn this around? "Yeah," a voice from the crowd chimed in. Claire recognized it as one of the kids who usually kept to themselves. "Let's just enjoy the event," another shouted. Energized by a shift in atmosphere, the crowd started to stir with nods and murmurs of agreement. The weight of the moment lifted, and laughter began to return. But this time, it was lighter. The unease seemed to have been replaced with a collective resolve to support one another. Claire took this moment, the community starting to connect in a way she had yearned for. "Everyone here has something to offer," she said, her voice cracking with emotion. "Let's get ready for this fitness event. Let's all join together to make this amazing." Applause burst forth again, spontaneous and uplifting. Jake's shoulders straightened, a grin breaking through as he clung to Lily. Claire felt the walls around them crumble, revealing a path lit with connection and kindness. As the event progressed, Claire found herself bouncing between the preparations and her children, helping them forge new friendships amidst the joy and excitement. It felt like magic, the way that tension melted into camaraderie. Yet in that whirlwind of positivity, Claire couldn't shake a new fear. What if this newfound strength slipped away after the day? What if they returned to the challenges, the scoffing laughter in the hallways of school, threatening to overshadow everything they had built today? As the day drew to a close, she caught sight of Tom bustling with volunteers, his unwavering spirit igniting everyone around him. This was the strength she wanted to embody. Jake and Lily were buzzing with excitement, their bonds forged deeper within the chaos, but Claire's heart still held a question. "How do I keep this going?" she wondered. Suddenly, Lily looked at her, eyes shining. "Can we do more events like these, Mom? Together?" Claire's heart raced at the spark igniting in her daughter's idea. But could this movement grow? Could it blossom into something that thrived beyond the gym? A change that stretched throughout their community? "Absolutely," Claire replied with a newfound determination. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a golden glow on their gathering. It felt like a beginning, but would their shift transform into a lasting legacy for everyone? As Claire watched the gym empty out, an insistent whisper tugged at her heart. What would come next? Would they embrace this newfound strength, or would the pressures of the world swallow it whole? The linger of uncertainty echoed in her chest, promising a journey that was just beginning. The weeks that followed were an intoxicating blur of activity. Claire poured herself into planning the next community fitness event, her mind racing with ideas. Each new suggestion bounced around her head like a pinball, igniting possibilities. People began to rally around her, inspired by the energy generated at the gym that day. Jake and Lily took to their roles as enthusiastic assistants. Jake helped design flyers, while Lily, with her natural charisma, was quick to talk friends into joining. "It's going to be fun. You won't regret it," she would say, her excitement contagious. This new purpose lit a fire in Jake, each interaction filling him with an uncharacteristic sense of pride. Claire watched her children blossom, the flicker of joy sparking between them. The confidence they were gaining was palpable, and it felt like a breath of fresh air. However, the nagging doubts still lingered in her thoughts. Could they maintain this momentum? What if the same children who had scoffed before reverted to their old ways? One crisp Saturday morning, Claire gathered volunteers at the local park. They were enthusiastic, suggesting different fun stations for kids, from obstacle courses to yoga. Laughter mingled with the rustling leaves, but when it came time to finalize plans, Claire felt nervous. As she stood before the group, everyone's eyes expectant, the same doubts threatened to rise again. What if this doesn't work out? The words slipped out before she could suppress them, a thread of worry weaving through her voice. Tom stepped forward, his presence steady and reassuring. Claire, remember how the last event turned fear into friendship? The kids saw the way you all stood up for each other. You're laying the foundation for something incredible. He saw the uncertainty, and his voice softened. Keep believing, and the rest will follow. With a smile tugging at her lips, Claire realized he was right. It was all about taking that leap of faith. So she squared her shoulders. Let's show them what we can accomplish together. The day of the event arrived, filled with sunshine and an undercurrent of excitement. The park burst to life with colorful banners and laughter. Kids raced around, and the air hummed with energy. Parents hovered nearby, chatting, and Claire couldn't shake the smile off her face. Yet, in the back of her mind, a flicker of doubt still gnawed at her. Suddenly, she spotted a familiar figure linger at the edge of the crowd, the same boy who had been one of Jake's biggest taunters. Her heart sank in her chest. Would things change, or would old patterns rear their ugly heads? Jake caught her glance. "Mom, it's okay. That's just Kyle. He might surprise us today," he said, an unexpected calm in his voice. Claire nodded, though her heart still raced. As games commenced, children began mingling with one another. Claire observed Jake and Lily welcome others with open arms. Smiles spread like wildfire. She felt a surge of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this was more than just a one-time thing. And then, with laughter echoing across the park, she saw Jake approach Kyle. Holding his breath, Claire watched her son extend a hand, offer encouragement, and share a secret, precious connection she had once thought impossible between them. For a moment, time stood still. Would Kyle respond? Would this be a breakthrough, or just a clash of the past remaining? The tension in the air was almost electric, as Kyle hesitated. Claire's heart raced, the moment poised on a knife's edge. Just then, Jake grinned and clapped him on the back. "Come on, let's show them how it's done." In that instant, Claire was filled with a profound mixture of hope and fear. Was this the moment everything shifted for them, or would it crumble again? Uncertainty swelled anew, yet Claire clung to the possibility of transformation. What would it take for true change to embed itself in their lives? The sun hung high, radiating warmth and life, as Claire's heart fluttered with a mix of anticipation and worry. She watched Jake and Kyle as they laughed, racing towards the makeshift obstacle course, their earlier rivalry seemingly forgotten. Claire couldn't help but smile, but the fear still bubbled beneath the surface. How long could this fragile peace last? Would the shadows of the past return to snuff out the light they had just ignited? Claire's thoughts were interrupted by Lily's excited squeal. "Mom, look at the way they're playing!" She pointed at the obstacle course, where children lined up, cheering each other on. It was chaos, the kind of joy that filled a mother's heart. Claire glanced over to Tom, who smiled back at her, his eyes twinkling with pride. But there was a heaviness to that smile. An unspoken question hung in the air. What if this was just a fleeting moment? As the event progressed, Claire moved from station to station with a newfound energy, greeting parents and chatting with kids. She could feel the community growing closer. But each time she looked back toward the park where Kyle and Jake played, her heartbeat quickened. Would Kyle fit in? Would he embrace this newfound camaraderie? Or would he slip back into his old behavior once the crowd dispersed? Suddenly, Claire noticed the energy shift. Laughter quieted, and a tense silence fell over the group near the tug-of-war section. A small cluster of kids had gathered, their eyes glued to a confrontation brewing between Jake and another boy who had stepped forward, Tommy, Kyle's friend, and often a troublemaker himself. Claire's stomach dropped. There was an edge to Tommy that signaled trouble. She could see Jake's face harden, waiting for the inevitable clash. "Hey, you think you're better than everyone just because your mommy's throwing this stupid event?" Tommy sneered, his voice dripping with disdain. Jake threw in a breath. Claire's heart pounded. She could feel the heat rising in his cheeks, the intensity of the moment bubbling over. Would he succumb to the old patterns? But there was something different about Jake today. He steadied himself, his hands fisting at his side for just a moment before he took a step forward. No, this is a day for fun. Everyone's welcome here, and we're all just trying to have a good time. His voice rang firm, surprising Claire with its strength. The words seemed to take Tommy aback, and Claire felt a flicker of hope ignite within her once more. Kyle was watching, a wary expression on his face. Would he step in too? Before she could contemplate further, Claire noticed a spark flicker in Kyle's eyes. "What do you know about it, Tommy? Just shut up," he blurted out, surprising everyone, including himself. A collective gasp spread through the kids nearby, and the tension hung thick. Claire held her breath, her palms sweaty. If Kyle stood up now, it could change everything. And then came a moment that would be etched in her memory forever. With unexpected bravado, Kyle stepped closer to Jake, adding, "We want everyone to feel included here, right? No one should feel left out." Claire felt a rush of tears welling up. Had Kyle just taken a brave step, breaking free from his own past? It was a shift she had never dared to believe he could make. The moment stretched, uncertainty swirling heavily around them. Would this commitment to unity stand strong, or was it just another fragile hope, ready to shatter when faced with the pressure of reality? As the tug-of-war rope slipped from Tommy's hands and he walked away, the children broke into cheers. But Claire's heart was pounding for another reason entirely. This felt like a turning point, a flicker of transformation stirring within her family and the community. Yet beneath the jubilance was still an overwhelming question. Would they be strong enough to keep this momentum alive? What sacrifices would they have to make? The day was far from over. Another challenge loomed on the horizon, waiting in the shadows. What would the next test reveal about their newfound bonds? The excitement crackled in the air as cheers erupted around the park. Claire tried to steady her breath, shaking off the lingering tension from the confrontation. Young voices floated around her, a blend of giggles and shouts, but her focus kept drifting back to those few moments of bravery. Jake and Kyle exchanged a look of disbelief, each boy still wrapped up in the aftermath of their bold stand. For a heartbeat, the world faded away for Claire. Everything felt fragile, like a delicate glass ornament precariously balanced on the edge of something. Kyle's voice echoed in her mind. Had he truly chosen inclusion over isolation? Just then, a burst of laughter pulled Claire from her thoughts. Lily had darted off toward a gathering of kids trying to create a human pyramid. "Mom, come watch," she yelled, her voice filled with uncontainable joy. With a small smile, Claire followed, drawn in by her daughter's enthusiasm. The sight was heartwarming, children climbing over one another, cheers and playful shoving as they laughed at their wobbly efforts. But just as smoothly as that joy flowed, the undercurrent of anxiety stirred deep within Claire. Could they hold on to this newfound spirit? She glanced back toward Jake and Kyle again. To her relief, they were now laughing and high-fiving each other. Maybe the day's unity was more than just a one-time fluke. Perhaps a bridge had been built, not just between her son and Kyle, but among other kids who had seen their strength. Lily tumbled off the pile with a giggle, landing on her back. Claire watched as she quickly jumped up, dusting herself off. She hurried to her mother, her face beaming with pride. "Did you see that, Mom? I was almost at the top." "You're getting so brave, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you," Claire beamed back, her voice full of warmth. Just as her heart filled with pride, the loud boom of laughter suddenly shifted into a sharp scream. Claire whipped around. It was Tommy again, launching himself into the middle of a group, flaring up tension from earlier. "You're all losers!" he hollered, a wild gleam in his eyes. Chaos erupted once more. Claire's heart sank as she watched Jake and Kyle's joyful expressions transform into frowns. What would Tommy do this time? Memories of the earlier confrontation flooded her mind. The promise of the new openness they had found, now threatened by the shadows of old rivalries. Would they stand together again, or was this the breaking point? "Hey, stop it!" Kyle shouted, this time with a voice that trembled but held determination. He took a step toward Tommy, and Claire felt her chest tighten. Would he back down now that the stakes felt higher? In that instant, Claire sensed a ripple of resistance from the other kids. Jake stepped in beside Kyle, standing firm. "We're not gonna let you do this, Tommy. We chose to have fun. You want to be alone? That's your choice, but we're not afraid of you." The crowd held their breath as Tommy's expression shifted, uncertainty flashing over his face, battling against his bravado. It was a silent battle of wills, and Claire gripped her heart, wondering what would hinge on this moment. The echoes of laughter from moments ago felt distant now. It was no longer just about the fun, but about facing down the demons of their pasts. Would they crumble or rise? The park felt electric with tension. Claire watched as the crowd shifted, mothers turning their eyes toward the scene unfolding. The stakes felt impossibly high, her heart pounding like a drum. What would happen next? Would the community's newfound spirit prevail, or just crumble like a stack of autumn leaves? The moment hung in the air like a thick fog of uncertainty. Tommy's bravado met the strength of Jake and Kyle, two boys who had fought for a space where joy could flourish. Around them, the other children watched, their eyes wide with a mix of fear and hope. Claire's heart raced as she searched for a way to guide them through this turmoil. "Tommy," Jake said, his voice wavering but steady, "you don't need to act this way. We can all play together. You don't have to be alone." Tommy hesitated, the edge of his aggression dulling. For just a flicker, Claire caught a glimpse of vulnerability in his wild eyes. Perhaps he was just a kid who didn't know how to fit in, a reflection of the pain he'd hidden beneath his tough exterior. She felt a spark of compassion, a yearning to break down walls rather than watch them rise again. Then, as if sensing the shift, Tommy's face twisted back into a sneer. "You think I need you?" he yelled, but the volume faltered, betraying his insecurity. "You're all just scared of me." Jake didn't back down. "I'm not scared of you, Tommy. I'm sad for you. Being alone is tough. Everyone deserves friends." The silence stretched, the crowd captivated. A group of girls nearby exchanged glances, some whispering agreements with soft nods, while others remained transfixed by the standoff. Claire felt the petite fingers of her daughter Lily intertwining with her own, squeezing tightly. A wave of courage surged through the park. Kids murmured excitedly, echoing the sentiments of inclusion and camaraderie that Jake and Kyle had fought to uphold. For a moment, the threat of Tommy's invasion faded, replaced by an undercurrent of solidarity among the children. "What about you joining us for the human pyramid, Tommy?" Kyle suggested, taking a bold step forward. "You can't do it alone, but we could help you get to the top." Tommy's bluff evaporated like morning dew. The group had offered him an invitation instead of dismissal, a rare chance to be part of something, a chance for escape from the isolation he had wrought around himself. Claire held her breath as she watched Tommy's response. His eyes shifted, scanning the faces that once feared him, now offering kindness. "I don't need you," he said, though his voice wavered. Yet, Claire could see the cracks forming in the armor he had built around his heart. "You could, though. We all can," Lily said, breaking through the tension with an innocent smile. "It would be fun together." The tense atmosphere began to shift, as if the very air in the park had lightened. Kids moved toward Tommy, extending hands in camaraderie. Kyle's brave stand had opened a door, and now others were stepping through it. Bit by bit, Tommy's defenses began to falter. He looked at the throng of children surrounding him, felt the warmth of their acceptance. "Fine," he mumbled, almost to himself. "I'll try." Cheers erupted again, louder than before. The energy flowed back into the park, filling the spaces once cloaked in shadows. In that moment, Claire felt hope swell in her chest. Maybe today would mark a new beginning, not just for Tommy, but for everyone. As the children rallied around Tommy, prompting laughter and playful shoving, Claire let out a breath she didn't realize she had been holding. Together, they could weather whatever storms came next. But just as unity thickened the atmosphere, Claire's phone buzzed in her pocket. It was a message from her friend Jenna, who rarely reached out during the day. Without even looking, Claire sensed the urgency. Would it bring news that disrupted this fragile peace? Her heart beat faster with the uncertainty of what lay ahead. In that moment, surrounded by infectious laughter and joy, Claire felt a familiar shadow threaten once more. Claire's heart raced as she fished her phone from her pocket. The screen illuminated with Jenna's name. Anxiety gripped her, squeezing her chest like a vice. She couldn't help but glance at the children, their joy now mingling with her own rising stress. "Mom, what's wrong?" Lily asked, her innocent gaze cutting through Claire's turmoil. "Nothing, sweetie," Claire replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She swiped open the message, her heart in her throat. "It's just a quick message." But the words spilled over with urgency. "Call me. It's about the gym." Her mind whirled. The gym? What could possibly be wrong? Had Jenna hurt herself during her morning workout? Or was it something worse? "Hey," Jake called out, breaking her thoughts as he tossed a ball to Kyle, who caught it and dove toward Tommy. Everyone was laughing again, caught up in the spirit of the moment. She wanted to immerse herself back into it, to tuck away the gnawing worries. But it was too late. The call felt inevitable. As the laughter echoed around her, Claire stepped to the side, out of the joyous circle. She dialed Jenna's number, the world around her fading slightly, swallowed by her rising anxiety. "Hello?" Jenna's voice crackled over the line, thick with emotion. "Jenna, what's going on?" Claire asked, a tightness forming in her throat. "Claire, it's about the gym. I noticed some things," Jenna whispered, as if afraid someone might overhear. "They've been discussing changes, things that could affect the kids' programs. They might cut the funding." Claire felt a chill creep over her, one that doused the warmth she'd just felt. "What? But the kids love those programs. They need them. We need them." "I know. That's what I'm saying. I just heard it through the grapevine, but we need to do something. We can't let them cut those programs. The kids can't lose this space." Jenna's voice trembled. Every minute that ticked by made her heart pound harder. Back in the park, laughter continued to drift like music through the air, blissfully unaware of the trouble brewing. Claire glanced over her shoulder at the group. It was more than a game to them. It was their sanctuary. "Okay, I'm in. What's the plan?" Claire responded, steel in her tone. "I'll organize a meeting with other moms. If we can gather enough support, maybe we can prevent this," Jenna said, determination lacing her words. Claire nodded, even though Jenna couldn't see her. "Count me in. Let's rally everyone. We can make a difference." She hung up, her mind racing. As she returned to the group, she saw Tommy, just a boy who had been lost, now helping others laugh and climb on one another to form a silly human pyramid. The sight ignited sparks in her heart. She could already feel the tension of the gym's potential changes looming ahead, but this was more important. "All right, everyone," Claire called, her voice resonating with excitement. "How about we take a break and create a team cheer? It'll be a fun way to welcome Tommy." Lily bounced on her toes, trying to rally the others. They gathered around, the kids' eyes alight with enthusiasm. They were ready to band together, just as they had done for Tommy. But deep inside, Claire still worried. Could they all come together when it was time to face the bigger battle? Her fingers trembled slightly as she thought about those potentially cutting the funding. Was it only kids' laughter that would fuel their fight, or something deeper? Determined to protect their joy, Claire's spirit ignited. They could do this together. They had to. As the kids clapped along, calling out ideas for a chant, Claire looked around. A sense of unity was building, but so was her resolve. Would the forthcoming fight for the gym bring them together, or would it tear them apart? With that question hanging in the air, Claire locked eyes with Tommy, who smiled widely. He seemed almost free. Could they rise like this human pyramid together in their upcoming challenge? The dust of excitement settled across the park as laughter echoed, but inside Claire, a storm brewed. She joined in the kids' cheer, claps synchronizing with their enthusiasm, yet her thoughts lingered on the looming threat to their sanctuary, the gym. As the cheer wrapped around them like a warm blanket, she gazed at Jake and Lily, each burst of laughter reminding her of why they fought. Their smiles were the catalyst for her to step up once again. Would her voice carry in the face of adversity? "Okay, team, let's take it one step further," Claire called out, her heart pounding against her ribcage, the worry woven through her words giving way to determination. "We're not just here to have fun. We're here to stand together. Let's show everyone what we've built. And next week, I want each one of you to bring a friend. Let's grow our team." At her words, the children erupted into cheers, cascading waves of excitement fueling their day. Tommy jumped in. His previous hesitance faded as he led a few kids in a joyful dance. Claire watched, a sense of pride swelling in her chest. They were no longer just kids having fun. They were a community, one united force. But would it hold beyond this day? Claire brushed the worry aside with her newfound determination. After all, a community didn't form in only one day. It grew, shaped by each brave gesture. The hours drifted by, filled with games, laughter, and bonds deepening like roots in fertile soil. When the sun began to dip low and the first streaks of orange painted the sky, each child was bouncing with anticipation for next week. "Wow, that was amazing," Jake grinned as they packed up their belongings. His eyes sparkled with joy, enthusiasm still pouring over from the day's unfolding magic. "Thanks for bringing us, Mom." "Of course, buddy. You guys made it special. But now we have to keep this going." Claire's voice edged on urgency, but without any fear. "We need to act fast on what Jenna told me about the gym. Can I count on you?" "Definitely," Lily chimed in, head bobbing eagerly. "We can tell everyone at school, right? Like a story?" Claire chuckled, her heart swelling with warmth. "Exactly. You both help me spread the word, and let's gather more families next week." That night, Claire tucked her kids in, her heart light. Tomorrow would reveal new plans, and she embraced the thought of uniting not just her children, but an entire community. The image of Tommy dancing amongst the joy of his peers flickered in her mind, offering her a fresh burst of hope. As she lay in bed, Claire reflected on her journey, the doubts, the battles, and the unexpected friendships. She realized that transformation isn't just a single moment. It's a series of decisions made in moments of vulnerability that lead to strength. Together, they would rise. The next week surged forward like a well-practiced choreography. Enthusiasm rippled as information about the upcoming fight for the gym spread among families. Parents rallied, gathering letters, sharing stories of hope, embracing Tom's tailored fitness ideas that bridged gaps and built ties. At the meeting, Claire felt the swell of support wash over her as she stood before a room full of familiar faces, nervous but resolute. Each shared experience resonated like a heartbeat, syncing them together. "Together, we can create an unstoppable force for our kids," Claire exclaimed, her voice laced with conviction. Hearing applause and cheer from the community lifted her like a weightless feather. Their dreams intertwined, crafting a beautiful tapestry of resilience. Weeks melted into a tapestry of hard work, reflection, growth, and genuine connection. The day arrived for the final county meeting to discuss funding decisions, and the community gathered in support. Claire gripped her stack of letters, the stories of struggle and resilience that would shake the foundation of doubt. As she stepped up to the podium, faces turned towards her. The fear resurfaced momentarily, but she remembered Jake and Lily's bright smiles, Tommy's newfound courage, and the unwavering support and love surrounding her. She took a breath, steady and warm, and allowed herself to connect with each person in the room. "We didn't just come here for funding," she began, her voice ringing strong. "We came here to unite, to uplift each other in our shared journey. Our children deserve a place where they can grow, play, and support one another. Together, we stand as a community, stronger than the doubts and fears. Applause erupted, filling the chamber with an explosion of sound, and Claire felt the power of change coursing through her veins. She finished her speech, the echo of fear replaced by a wave of hope resonates within. Days passed, and news rippled through the town. Donations poured in, the community's voice was loud and clear. The gym's programs would continue. As joy bubbled, Claire's heart swelled in disbelief. They hadn't just saved a gym, they had transformed their community, pushing through gaps of misunderstanding with bonds of support. The gym pulsed anew with energy, and as Claire returned with her kids, just as she had the first day, she felt the warmth of renewed purpose. Standing beside Jake, Lily, and Tom, they embodied the spirit of resilience. The kids raced to each other, laughter erupting once more as they welcomed newcomers. Claire's heart filled with gratitude. "You did it," she whispered to Tom, who beamed at the transformation around them. "Look how far we've come. This is just the beginning." And as she stood among them, her heart full, her spirit elevated, she knew she had the strength to effect change. Life would still throw challenges their way, but this wasn't just about overcoming turbulence. It was about celebrating the shared victories that bound them closer together. Claire stepped forward, arm entwined with Tom, her heart echoing in time with the laughter around them. Together, they could shape futures, create unity, and inspire the next generation to dream bigger. This was their moment, and the journey had only just begun. Now, listen up, because this is the moment you need to jump in. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that ignite hope. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm that helps spread these amazing transformations. Drop a comment below to share your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. And for real, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait, not even one more second. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let's keep the movement going.